everyone, I'm Esther Kotimi. Thank you so much for joining me on the Divine GPS Navigator. Today we'll be talking about the full moon in Scorpio, which occurs May 29th, 7:19 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And this is a special full moon where the moon will be in the water sign of Scorpio, and both the Sun and Mercury are in the earth sign of Taurus. Now, the reason I said it's special, in the indigenous culture, they call this the Wesak full moon. And what that is meant is through many generations, this has been considered the time when the great spiritual leaders and teachers from both the Eastern and Western traditions meet in a special mountain valley in Tibet. And they pray for the well-being of all humankind and for the elevation of all of us. So there's tremendous compassion and love from just many great spiritual beings that are sending it to here on earth. So let's tune in with that wonderful energy this month as we look how we can best use this powerful cycle. And as I mentioned, we know it, the full moon is always a polarity. So this particular month, with our planets in both Taurus and Scorpio, we're looking at how do we balance our material security, our interest in sensuality, and wanting to be comfortable. How do we balance that with our great desire for passion and intensity and sexuality? What is the way we can do that can really help us to grow and to feel greater love and compassion for others? Now, this is a wonderful time to really connect to the earth, whether you might do that through gardening, a wonderful walk in nature. I know for some people it might be great to make a lovely meal for a friend, be able to give a foot rub. And then, of course, the balance and with all of this might be a wonderful romantic evening with a loved one. So these are things we're looking to do. And because it is the full moon and so many emotions come up, there may be things we may have sort of shoved down or repressed this month. So when these things come up, there may be a tendency with this full moon to truly want to overindulge a bit, whether we're eating or drinking, whether it can be in our sexual life or spending. Let's watch and make sure that we're not overindulging to try to, if you will, kind of repress some feelings that may be coming up. And rather, this is a wonderful opportunity to balance with some of the really sharing from the heart, being able to practice our emotional intelligence, and really an opportunity to break through. If you're feeling some resentment, perhaps there's some fear, perhaps there's some anger or abandonment. Honestly, they may be old feelings that are being triggered. And if you can just share from your heart, tremendous opportunities may open up and new things may come when that energy is cleared out. Now this month we have three patterns that we're looking at. We always have that what we call polarity or opposition with the sun and moon. And this month, Neptune is reasonably close by. So in a T-square, we're looking at how to balance these three different energies and integrate them in our regular life. So with this particular case, because all three signs are what we call in fixed energy, it's important to have some flexibility, both mentally and emotionally, during this full moon. This particular T-square is teaching us how can we learn to balance our need for sensuality and material stability and comfort with our also need for sexual and emotional intimacy, as well as with a sense of spirituality and, if you will, the higher good. How can we integrate these? Are there ways that we can just keep the big picture in mind each day while we're living our life and not be too driven materially and exhausted? Now, the second pattern or aspect is what's called a grand trine in air. This means that all the three planets are in harmony and balance, and there's great healing, and they're all in signs of air. So we have Jupiter in Libra, we have Neptune in Aquarius, and we have Venus in Gemini. So this symbolizes, besides all this wonderful healing, this is really a wonderful time for expansion, for collaboration, for partnership. And what's great is a lot of this can also be used for the higher good or the greater community. There's wonderful creativity and inspiration that can come through this cycle, and it will be occurring for a few days now. So tune in with that. I think you'll really enjoy it and be inspired. In addition, our third pattern or aspect is Saturn in the fire sign of Sagittarius, is what we call an inconjunct to both the Sun and Mercury in Taurus. So this is an opportunity to adjust our attitude and perhaps our behavior. If you feel sometimes like you're being a human doing and you're feeling a lot of financial stress perhaps in your career and your work, this is a way to help you observe if you, again, have limiting beliefs and communications. Perhaps you can adjust that. Perhaps you can reframe that and see that there may be some terrific expansion, and also see that pushing too hard may exhaust you and not be the key to success. Might actually be getting a bit more rest or even more quiet time may actually inspire you, and your work may actually come together in a new way. So these are the patterns we're looking at. And as we mentioned, with the full moon, we know things do come to fruition, and that's why that quiet time, some opportunity to unplug, from this strong stimulation we're all experiencing, even a little while, if you can see that it may bring you some tremendous new ideas for this coming month, that'll be well worth it. So I encourage you to take that time. And again, even though it's a bit more internal this month, being both the sun and moon in what we call earth and water signs, there's still, as we know, high energy. So I encourage all of you to get your yayas out, whether you take a walk, whether you go to the gym, if you're someone like myself that likes to sing and dance. But remember, we're not just releasing stress, we're also channeling that incredible energy in a way that we can access it. So it does two things when we exercise and get that out. It really can open up some new creative channels. So I encourage you to do that. As we know, changes on the planet are never ending, so it's important. Do stay connected to your divine source, however you do that. And let's all continue to develop more resilience and more trust in the higher good, that things are unfolding in a wonderful way. But as we know, with the light getting so strong, we've mentioned, of course, it's going to bring up even more greed and fear and anger, unfortunately. So let's see that those things are coming up to be healed. Let's use the compassion and love that have been sent to us through so many great teachers this month. Let's use that both towards ourselves and towards those in our lives. I'm so glad you joined me on the Divine GPS Navigator. I'm Astro Coach Amy. Feel free to contact me at my website if you'd like a reading or have a question.